Hi, I'm James and thanks for tuning in to AlphaSync. In this video, we're going to be taking a look and unboxing one of the latest AlphaSync systems available to buy, featuring AMD's Radeon RX 6700 XT. I'm really excited to see just how good this system looks and then of course how well it performs, so let's get it out of the box and let's do this. As you would expect from AlphaSync, this system comes really securely packaged in a large AlphaSync branded box to make sure it arrives to you safe and sound. We're going to open up our cardboard packing tape, making sure that the box is the right way up. Inside the box you'll find not only your system but any included accessories and documentation. You get a piece of paper which actually informs you how exactly to get the system out of the box, what you need to remove, and the packaging materials that were included to keep it safe. In terms of included accessories, these come in a really nice box to the side of your system, which is of course branded up with the AlphaSync logo. Inside this box you'll find all the extra bits and bobs you could possibly need for your system, which includes a couple of cable ties, an FAQ pamphlet, which should give you some nice setup instructions and answer any questions you might have about your new system. In our scenario as well, we also get any included case hardware that is surplus to requirements, as well as all the power cables you may need. So this is your kettle lead, which plugs the system up to the wall, but you'll also find any spare power supply cables. So should you wish to upgrade your system, in a couple of years' time, add any extra hardware, you're able to do so really quite easily. Excess screws, manuals and documentation from any of the really high quality parts included in the AlphaSync system range will also come included. This is really handy to have and keep hold of for your own records. With our documentation and accessories aside, all that remains is to take out your system, and you can see this is packaged up with some nice adjustable soft cell foam to keep it safe in transit. With it out of the box, all that remains is to remove the protective exterior bag and then remove our case side panel. This is so that we can remove the expanding foam inside, which keeps all of your components secure. This foam design is really clever because it automatically adjusts its size to actually compensate for the components, meaning you are really secure in transit. And that actually reveals all the components inside this awesome AlphaSync build. Namely, of course, our ASUS ROG STRIX RX 6700 XT. As we've covered before, AlphaSync systems use only the highest quality components in all of their builds from the most reputable manufacturers out there, and this system is of course no exception. We'll test out our 6700 XT a little bit later, one of AMD's latest graphics releases, but inside you'll also find some Corsair Vengeance LPX memory, a 240mm all-in-one liquid cooler from Cooler Master, built inside this really nice Be Quiet Pure Base chassis. I really like the black and white aesthetic of this system, and it also matches quite nicely with the black and white motherboard selected for this build in particular. You also get fast NVMe storage from Seagate, so you've got plenty of room for all your games with rapid Windows boot up times that keeps this system snappy in loading times as well as in gaming scenarios. Let's plug our system up though and try it out with some of our favourite titles out there. Nice, so our system is booted up and I think looks awesome, especially that AlphaSync custom logo on the all-in-one liquid cooler. That's a really nice touch. We're going to jump into a few games and see how well it stacks up, but let's first identify some of our components. Starting off with our 6-core 12-thread Ryzen 5 5600X, as well of course as 16GB of built-in memory. We've got our Corsair SSD drive for our fast Windows boot up, and then of course our brand new AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT. Let's test out and see how it performs. The first game we're going to try out is a bit of Call of Duty Warzone. We're running at 1440p, so kind of a slightly higher resolution than a lot of people would play at Warzone at. We've got the rest of our settings basically set to high, even extra in some instances as well, with an FPS counter on your screen here, so we can monitor the exact performance figures. Let's jump into a game of quads and see what kind of numbers we can get. Jumping into our pre-game lobby, and at the minute we're sitting about 150 FPS. That is not a bad effort at all, is it? Oh, I've got a sniper. That's the wrong gun for that situation. Jumping out the plane and into the game, we're sitting around 150 frames per second, 125, 130. That's not a bad effort whatsoever. And visually, I think the game looks pretty stunning as well. Here we go. Let's do this. Nice little supply crate. That's what we like. Oh, look at that thing. Oh, nice. Look at that. Go on. Next up then is a bit of Doom Eternal, a personal favourite title of mine. Let's take a look at some of the settings we've actually gone for video-wise. So we're running at 1440p. We've got basically everything set to high or ultra, specifically using the ultra preset. Once again, we're disabling vertical sync to make sure our FPS is as high as it can possibly go. So let's jump into the campaign and see what kind of numbers and performance we can get. Looking good so far. We're at around about 227 FPS in that top left corner. A little bit small, but visually the game looks absolutely phenomenal. And those kind of numbers on this 6700 XT AlphaSync system are pretty bonkers. Even in kind of more complicated scenes like this, where you've got more lighting and more textures going on, our frame rate is actually holding up really quite nicely. Still around that 200 frames per second mark, 220, 230. Visually, the game looks absolutely awesome. I love Doom Eternal. And let us know actually in the comments below this video what your favourite game is to play, especially if you had the power of something like a 6700 XT gaming PC build. Get out of here! I don't think so, buddy! The final title I wanted to try out though on this AlphaSync system was of course Cyberpunk 2077. This game is notoriously difficult to run, so it's a great performance indicator. Jumping into settings, you can see here we're running at basically medium to high settings at 1080p. And you can see here we've got pretty much everything that you would want enabled. Let's jump into our game with our FPS counter both down here and at the top as well, to give you a really good performance indication. Sitting around about 90 frames per second so far. That's pretty good. That is very good actually. These numbers really are very impressive, especially when you consider so many systems have trouble running this game at even kind of low settings, 30 frames per second. So to be getting the best part of 80, 90 FPS at 1080p, medium to high settings is really, really impressive. And with that, that pretty much wraps up our first look and test of this AlphaSync RX 6700 XT system. You can see here the finest component choices have really given us some fantastic performance figures in a range of titles, and you're sure not to be disappointed with a system like this from AlphaSync. Thank you very much for tuning in though, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.